The city was quiet that night. Streetlights glowed like little stars, and the sound of tires on wet pavement echoed through the empty streets. Frank Miller had been driving his taxi for nearly 30 years. He'd seen everything: laughter, heartbreak, silence, and stories that ended before they even began. That night, he glanced at the clock on his dashboard. 11:58 p.m. He sighed. It'd been a long day. Asterisk. Just one more ride. Asterisk, he thought. Then home. He didn't know that this last passenger would change his life forever. Before continue, please subscribe our channel and like our video. The radio crackled. Greater than car 17, last pickup for the night. Elderly female, downtown area. Need a driver. Frank hesitated. He was tired. His back ached. But something inside him whispered asterisk, go. Asterisk, so he turned the wheel and headed toward the address. When he arrived, the building looked almost forgotten, small, old. Its windows dark. He honked once. No answer. He was about to drive away when he noticed a faint light flicker behind the curtains. Then the door opened. Out stepped a small woman, maybe in her late 80s, holding a worn-out suitcase in one hand and a walking cane in the other. She wore a faded blue coat and a soft smile, one that looked both shy and brave. Frank quickly got out and hurried to help her with her bag. Thank you, son, she said softly. Her voice trembled like the whisper of an old song. No problem, ma'am, he said. Where to? She handed him a small note with an address scribbled on it. When he saw it, his heart sank a little. It was for St. Mary's Hospice, a place people usually went to but didn't come back from. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She sat quietly, hands folded in her lap. Would you like me to turn the meter on? Frank asked gently. She smiled faintly. There's no rush tonight, dear. I'm not in a hurry. They moved through the sleeping city, passing empty stores and glowing traffic lights. After a while, she spoke. Could you drive through downtown first? She asked softly. It's been so long since I've seen the city lights. Of course, Frank said. As they drove, she stared out the window, her eyes full of memory. I used to dance there, she said, pointing to an old ballroom. It was the most beautiful place. My husband and I met there in 1952. Her voice softened. We used to dance every Saturday. He had 2 left feet, but he said he'd dance with me forever. Frank smiled. Sounds like he kept his promise. She chuckled, that tender sound full of both love and loss. He did, she said, until last spring. That's when forever ended. Silence filled the cab again, but it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful, like 2 souls, quietly sharing a moment of truth. As they drove past another part of town, she whispered, would you mind driving by Maple Avenue? Sure, Frank said. You live there? I used to, she replied. That little yellow house on the corner, that was ours. We raised 2 kids there. One became a teacher, the other, well, he's far away now. We don't talk much. Her eyes glistened as she added softly, life goes fast, doesn't it? You think you have time, but it slips right through your fingers. Frank nodded. Yeah, it really does. Quietly, he reached over and turned off the meter. He didn't care about the fare anymore. After nearly 2 hours of slowly driving through her memories, they finally arrived at the hospice. The building was small, surrounded by trees. Soft light spilling from the windows. Frank stopped the car. She sat for a moment, staring at the entrance. Would you mind helping me carry my bag inside? She asked gently. Of course, Frank said. He grabbed her suitcase and walked beside her. Inside, a nurse smiled warmly. Oh, Mrs. Patterson, we've been waiting for you. The old woman turned to Frank and reached for his hand. You're a good man, she said softly. You didn't just drive me tonight. You drove me through my life one last time. Frank felt his throat tighten. He didn't know what to say. He just nodded Dot as he turned to leave. She called out one last time, "Thank you for your kindness. You'll never know how much it meant." He smiled faintly. "Take care of yourself, ma'am." The next morning, Frank woke up thinking about her. Dot. Something about that night wouldn't leave him. A few days later, a letter arrived at the taxi office. Dot. It was handwritten, neat cursive, signed Mrs. Eleanor Patterson. It read, "Dear Frank, greater than. Thank you for being my last driver. You gave me more than a ride. You gave me a farewell to my life's memories. I prayed that God would send me someone kind for my last night on earth. He sent you. I left something for you with the nurse. With gratitude greater than Eleanor." Frank sat quietly, eyes misting over. He drove back to the hospice that afternoon. The nurse handed him a small box. Inside was a delicate pocket watch, engraved with the words, "Greater than, for time well spent and hearts well kept." Frank couldn't speak. He held the watch close to his chest, tears falling freely. From that day on, Frank never looked at his job the same way again. He realized every person who stepped into his cab wasn't just a fare, they were a story, a heartbeat, a universe of moments, waiting to be heard. He started greeting every passenger with a smile, no matter how late, no matter how tired. Dot. And he began listening, truly listening to their stories. A single act of kindness had changed him forever. Years later, when Frank finally retired, he hung that pocket watch in his home office. Dot. It became a symbol of everything he learned that night. That kindness doesn't need grand gestures. Dot. Sometimes it's as simple as saying yes to one more ride. Pause, gentle music fades out. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Kindness Untold Stories, because kindness, even in the smallest moments, can change a life forever.